Okay, today I'm going to be talking about one of the first texts in our romantic period here in 204, the first unit of our continuation and the introduction to British Lit. And we are going to be talking about Anna Letitia Barbauld's The Mouse's Petition today. So Anna Letitia Barbauld was a poet, an essayist, a teacher, a children's author, and she was held really in high regard by her contemporaries, including and maybe especially the young romantic poets William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. She wrote, Barbauld wrote at a time that was in a time period that was heavily dominated by male writers, at the time. And so women, were kind of overshadowed. Women writers were overshadowed at the time because this landscape was so dominated by the men poets at the time period. She achieved high literary status for during this time period, which was an accomplishment absolutely for um, for a female poet, especially. She was a passionate anti war and anti slavery campaigner. She was a religious dissenter, an influential literary critic. And so this text, especially, is kind of an interesting text. So Barbauld was a friend of the scientist Joseph Priestley, who is credited with the discovery of oxygen. And it seems very likely, especially including this epigraph that we have here, the mouse's petition found in a trap where he had been confined all night by Dr. Priestley for the sake of making experiments with different kinds of air. There, that this poem was prompted by witnessing the experimentation on animals, which was it was a push button topic then, and obviously more so now. So Priestley worked with isolating carbon dioxide and observing the effects on mice that were caught in traps. And so this poem is about an unhappy little mouse that Priestley left in a cage overnight that Miss Barbauld found. Her name was Aiken, then her maiden name, and she wrote a poem about the mouse. Um, uh, that was trapped in the cage. So let's read it and then we'll talk about it really quick. Oh, hear a pensive prisoner's prayer for liberty that sighs, and never let thine heart be shut against the wretch's cries. For here, forlorn and sad, I sit within the wiry gate, and tremble at the approaching morn which brings impending fate. If e'er thy breast with freedom glowed and spurned a tyrant's chain, let not thy strong oppressive force a born mouse detain. O do not stain with guiltless blood thy hospitable hearth, nor triumph that thy wiles betrayed a prize so little worth. The scattered gleanings of a feast my frugal meals supply, but if thine unrelenting heart that slender boon deny, the cheerful light, the vital air, are blessings widely given. Let nature's commoners enjoy the common gifts of heaven. The well-taught philosophic mind to all compassion gives, casts round the world an equal eye, and feels for all that lives. If mind, as ancient sages taught, a never-dying flame, still shifts through matter's varying forms, in every form the same, beware lest in the worm you crush a brother's soul you find, and tremble lest thy luckless hand dislodge a kindred mind. Or if this transient gleam of day be all of life we share, let pity plead within thy breast that little all to spare. So may thy hospitable board with health and peace be crowned, and every charm of heart-filled ease beneath thy roof be found. So when destruction lurks unseen, which men like mice may share, may some kind angel clear thy path and break thy hidden snare. So looking at this, here's obviously um, the titles, it kind of establishes kind of a mock seriousness here in the poem, The Mouse's Petition, with a petition suggesting a formal written request to an authority figure. And we have like three very, light-hearted, first three verses, kind of light-hearted. We hear this little eloquent mouse, and obviously it's written from the mouse's perspective, in his wire cage, and he's presenting the greater issues of the time period: power, tyranny, freedom, and compassion. And those are clearly from the heart of Anna Letitia Barbauld, who was a pacifist and opposed to slavery. And so we've got a very tongue-in-cheek tone, traditional ballad stanza with an alternate 8 and 6 syllable lines and a rhyme pattern of A, B, C, B all the way throughout. And so it seems like she's suggesting, in a very playful, gentle way, kind of encompassing not only the plight of this mouse, but also the poor and disadvantaged humans of society that she spoke up against. So not only the ethics of using animals in science, obviously, but also the greater issues that she was concerned with, which are the plight of humans in slavery. So the mouse begs Priestley for his freedom. Oh, hear a pensive prisoner's prayer for liberty that sighs, and never let thine heart be shut against the wretch's cries. And so he's begging for his freedom. He says, "For here, forlorn and sad, I sit within the wiry gate and tremble at the approaching morn." He knows in the morning that when he'll either be dead or he will be put to death after his experimentation there. He says, "If e'er thy breast with freedom glowed and spurned a tyrant's chain, let not thy strong oppressive force a free bound mouse detain." So this little free born mouse here is asking Priestley not to be a bloody tyrant. Very likely that he's kind of referencing both the American Revolution, the French Revolution, which were happening at the time period. He says, if ever you had freedom within your breast, if ever the freedom glowed within your breast, let not thy strong oppressive force a freebound mouse detain. If you believe in freedom, then you should not be a tyrant, and you should set me free. He says, "Oh, do not stain with guiltless blood thy hospitable hearth." I'm an innocent creature. Do not stain your hospitable hearth, your home, with my guiltless blood. And he says, and don't triumph over the fact that you have, captured and crucified, essentially, a prize that is so little worth. Is my little life, is not worth much. He says, I don't even, take up that much space, or take that much for me. He says, "The scattered gleanings of a feast, my frugal meals supply. But if thine unrelenting heart that slender boon deny, the cheerful light, the vital air, are blessings wildly given." He says, I'm eating off the remnants of what you eat. But if you're mean enough to kind of even deny even that, then air and light are blessings that are widely given to all men. They're freely given to all. So that shouldn't be something that you could take away. Even if you take away my meals from your table, you can't take away the light and the vital air that are given to all commoners under heaven. He says, "The well taught philosophic mind to all compassion gives, casts around the world an equal eye, and feels for all that lives." He's kind of associating his plight with the plight of others. He says, if you can kill a mouse, then you can kill a fellow human. Essentially, we're all equal. A well-taught mind, a philosophic mind, gives compassion to all, regardless of creature or human, and feels for all living beings. He says, if mind, as ancient sages taught, a never dying flame still shifts through matter's varying forms, and every form the same. Beware lest in the worm you crush a brother's soul you find, and tremble lest thy luckless hand dislodge a kindred mind. You know, if you the whole concept of, be careful, if you can you without in your soul, can you take the life of something so innocent, um and and be able to live with that, um uh, long term, essentially. So he says, if this life is all that animals have, it's more cruel, or it's even more cruel to deprive them of it, just like you wouldn't do that with a human being. And so he says, or uh, if this transient gleam of day be all of life we share, let pity plead within thy breast that little all to spare. So may thy hospitable bore with health and peace be crowned. You set me free. May you live long and prosper. May you feel every charm of heart-filled ease. You have a pleasant life, a happy life. And that one day, if you too find yourself in some kind of danger or trap, right? So when destruction lurks unseen, which men like mice may share, may some kind angel clear thy path and break thy hidden snare. May, if you set me free, hopefully one day, if you're in the same situation, that something, an angel may provide assistance to you in your time of need. And so it's widely accepted that after seeing this, the next morning the cage was brought to him, and it had Letitia Barbauld's poem attached to it, and he did set the mouse free, which I always have found is very innocent, very cute, and but anyway, interesting to start us off there in the Romantic period with the Mouse's Petition.